Jubilee Platinum has announced that it has secured funding for 2 platinum surface projects. Joining us now in studio is the company's Chief Executive Officer, Leon Coetzer. He joins us in studio. Thank you so much for coming through. It's quite a significant announcement, one can tell, judging by the reaction we've seen. What kind of value will this unlock to Jubilee overall?
Well, yes, you're quite right. It's quite a key step for Jubilee. It's been a very hard work in the background over the last 3 years to come to this point. I think to explain the impact and the significance to the company is, over the last years, Jubilee has been developing the processes to really put itself in a pole position when it's trying to acquire more and more of these surface assets to then extract the platinum out of these surface assets. And that was on the back of the Conroast process, or the Conroast recipe. So we were quite excited to have finally come to the point where we've secured 2 surface projects, quite large ones, and also very encouraged by the support from our investors to support us in executing these 2 projects under a very tight timeline. So it finally brings Jubilee into production, from development, working on non-platinum assets, non-platinum operational assets, into finally commissioning in the very near future our platinum operational assets.
Before we move on to your investors, maybe just to understand, these are surface projects, so you are not mining underground. So does that mean when it comes to issues around electricity supply, you are at an advantage there?
It's a very important point to make to me, yes. These are materials that have been mined for a specific mineral, chrome, and then placed on surface over many years by the chrome producers. And that's why, you know, the potential of the material is well in excess of 4.5 million tonnes at surface. That still contains the platinum that was mined at the time. So very correct, yes, it's at surface, surface processing, so it doesn't come with the various risks of underground mining. And when you speak of power, I suppose our company is in a slightly unique position because we do own our own private power plant, which currently supplies our furnaces with power, as well as we sell our excess power into the national grid. So we're slightly different from that point of view.
You're not affected by Eskom at all, in fact, helping solve the problem in its
Well,
very
much. At the moment, no, we aren't affected. These operations will be off the grid, but our current operations are on our private grid. We supply totally our own power for our operations at the moment.
So this does make negotiations easier with your investors in terms of funding. Does that mean that the terms and conditions are more favourable and it's at an interest rate that is more favourable to you?
It does take out a large variable out of the discussions, absolutely correct, yes. When investors look at any project, certainty and clarity is very, very important. And it ties into some of the Minister's comments over this past days at the Indaba. They see clarity, they take the clarity and they price it into their offering. So you're quite correct, yes. By having our investors focused towards our operations that feed off our own private power plant, it takes out the question about Eskom's availability of power.
Your thoughts then on the Minister's speech with regard to not only BE policies as well as policies clarity overall, but also the government's improved role, maybe playing a role of a shareholder now with that mining companies might need to get the go-ahead from them with regard to disposal of their assets?
Yes, I think there's a number of feedback we've received from some investors. It was encouraging that the Minister seems to really understand the need for clarity, to provide that clarity for investors. Foreign investment is vital to the South African mining industry. And it was very, very encouraging to hear his appreciation of that and really driving to provide that clarity for the investors. And it was received very well indeed by many investors.
It's good to see that there are investors that are still interested in the South African mining story. Who are your investors? Well,
you're absolutely correct. I mean, ultimately, if your investors are interested to invest in platinum, South Africa is the place to come and find that investment. Our investor base is predominantly in the United Kingdom and Europe based at the moment.
Looking at your share price performance, it's dipped by at least 25% in the last year. And obviously the market sentiment and the news regarding commodity prices isn't working in your favour.
Yes.
Does this maybe lay heavy on your mind?
Well, it does. I think the junior mining sector has come through a very troublesome time. Market capitalizations have been decimated on the markets. We've been fortunate, we've been clawing back our position over the last 3-4 months consistently because we're different in the sense that we're not a typical junior miner with a large exploration project. Yes, we do have a very large exploration project, but it's complemented by these near-term, low capital, low risk cash generative assets. So yes, we've come through a tough time as a junior mining sector. We have our foreign investment coming in. We have our near-term projects to deliver. So it finally takes us into a strong earnings generative company. And that's how we see we'll claw ourselves back to actually give the investor returns that they're seeking.
Just find a quick one. How big is this investment that they're ploughing into Jubilee?
The total investment at the moment will be dependent on the conclusion of the detail engineering studies, but it's going to be in the order of about $15 to $16 million.
Thank you so much for your time today and providing clarity with regard to the deal. That is Leon Coetzer. He's the Chief Executive of Jubilee Platinum.